Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, our pleasure. We gave a little bit of thought to the problem that we took away from the last meeting, and we still have a few questions for you. I think we need to clarify it a little bit because right now it's just kind of a huge, broad mess that we're looking at.
Right. Well, I was thinking about this a little more myself, and I realized what we really need is an IT audit, give us a clear picture of our current asset status, and moving forward, we would like to have an IT audit program in place to create a standardized process. Ideally, this would also include some kind of physical inventory, so we know that what we have on hand, and IT asset management includes acquisition, installation, maintenance, disposal of hardware, and software assets. So those are kind of the points we're looking for.
You know, though, I think right now we have 13 weeks left in the semester, and each one of those things kind of sound like they take a significant amount of time and resources. So I'm really just wondering if we're going to have enough time to really deliver what you're looking for on all those items. Maybe we should, drill it down to a smaller piece and exclude some of that.
That's probably true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So given that we won't be able to do all of that, you think maybe you could prioritize it a little bit and give us an idea of what's most important to you? Maybe we could do some of that.
Well, yeah, those are good questions. While performing a physical inventory, I think, would be important. For you to come in as outsiders and find everything may be unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to perform a physical inventory, perhaps ourselves internally. And however, what I think is more important is evaluating our current practices and ensuring we're putting a program in place to address the findings.
I think evaluating your current practices and then trying to develop some kind of an IT audit program moving forward sounds a little bit more feasible, although still, I mean, doing a program for hardware and a program for software sounds a bit ambitious. I think just, again, to emphasize that we want to take on something that we can deliver on and give you a good product. If you had to choose between hardware and software, which one do you think?
Well, due to the hard drives, with personal information on them, hardware would definitely be more important.
So you mentioned that you'd like a process in place to manage your inventory from acquisition to disposal. It sounds like an audit program could cover these processes at each step through their life. Is that kind of what you think you had in mind?
That sounds right.
If you had to describe what the project would look like at the end, do you have any idea what you think it might be?
So are you talking about success?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. That's simple, really. As I mentioned it in the first meeting, we had hard drives that just disappeared, and I would like to know why the hard drives were lost and what to do differently in the future so it won't happen again.
Right. So in trying to manage these, maybe we can talk in a little bit more detail about what kind of deliverables you'd like to see, maybe we can talk about what we can provide that would give you the most value.
I could see something like a first good step would probably be an evaluation and summary of the current practices. But, if you guys wanted to throw in what some other organizations are doing, that would be interesting. So going back to the original project scope discussion, really what we're looking for, though, is a process that's going to help us keep on top of and track our IT assets, both hardware and software.
It sounds like you'd like to have a plan in place to manage them going forward. And before you can do that, before you can manage them, you really need to know where you're sitting today as well. So we've agreed that we're going to create this process for you that you can use going forward to manage them. Maybe what we could do is create this process and then use our own process to evaluate your assets and your asset management as it stands today. In doing that, maybe we could not only give you a program, but through using this, we'll get a good idea of how the program works and be able to provide recommendations from that.
I don't quite understand what I'll be getting out of that.
Well, it sounds like, and obviously from what you said before, that you've had problems losing hard drives and managing your assets. So kind of in thinking about that, some of what we came up with is to develop a process to audit and test some of this stuff, as well as going out and looking at kind of what other people or other companies are doing as we're trying to synthesize this to give you guys something that you can use going forward. And then going through some of these tests, watching an asset from acquisition to disposal to give a clear picture of what you're doing now. And based on all that, I think we should be able to give you some documentation that you can use going forward, as well as some recommendations based on what we saw when we ran through our tests.
That sounds good. That sounds perfect.
Okay, so now that we're getting the project a little bit more specific, I think maybe we should go back and talk about stakeholders a little bit more, because we were a little bit unclear on that as well
Okay,
last time.
sure.
Who in your organization do you think would be important for us to work with or through?
Well, I agree. Now that we're talking about the audit, I'll make sure that Rex and our internal audit manager is available to work with you throughout the semester.
Okay. Is really important. Is there anybody else that you think we might be missing? I mean, we've really only identified who we're going to be working directly with right now, but are there other people who kind of have a stake in this whole process that we might want to get in touch with?
You should also be in contact with Lou Gavin, the desktop support manager, and Ray Lockman, a logistics program manager, Maria Strong, a budget analyst, and I can make sure you get hold of those. I'll forward their numbers to you so
Okay.
that you guys can get hold of them.
Okay. Okay, so from the list of stakeholders that you just gave me, we're going to be working closest with Rex, it sounds like. So would it be fair to call him the sponsor for our project?
Yeah, I think you can get some good information from both Ray and Maria, but Rex will be the guy who you're going to need to get sign off from.
Okay, and then you talked a little bit about, or you gave the titles of Ray and Maria, but is there any specific stake or reason that they're involved in this process in managing your assets?
They're not going to want to be intimately involved with the process, but they'll probably need to have at least a heads up as to what's going on along the way.
Why?
Their time is busy, and they've got a lot of other obligations, so I wouldn't want to see them too distracted, but I know they'll have an interest in what's going on with this project, so it'd be good to keep them up to date, but not burden them.
Okay, well, and not to belabor this too much, but what could you tell me a little bit what exactly their role is in your asset management?
Yeah, okay. Ray, he's the logistics program manager, and he'll help you out with the timing of events that can occur within the company. Maria is more of a budget analyst, so she'll be able to tell you whether or not we have the funds to perform the activities you guys like.